Hello, welcome back to my channel. I'm Danielle and this is only my third video, so I'm still taking notes on how to make my videos better quality, but for now this is what you have. Now today I'm working on my sister, and as you can see there's quite a bit of damage on her big toes. So here I'm just removing all the old product with my e-file. So while you watch that, I'll just tell you about her nails. So she's been going to the chop shops to get her toes done on a regular basis, but she's decided she no longer wants to go to them, and that reason being they use a different monomer to apply their acrylic. Now what I mean by that is anyone that's a nail technician who uses acrylic will use an EMA monomer, okay? Now that monomer, it's a strong enough acrylic liquid to make the nails last, but it also is easier to remove. Now when you go to a chop shop, they tend to use a monomer called MMA, and that stuff hardens like cement. So basically what happens is when you come to remove the acrylic, it's very stubborn and a lot of people just can't be bothered, so they'll try and pick at it, remove it their own way, and as you can see this is the result of that damage. It can physically rip your actual toenails away from your nail bed. Now my sister's toes here, they're not fungal, they're not sore, they're not infected. That's the reason why I'm working on them today. And as you can see here, I'm just going in now with a normal file just to shape her toes. But overall, she's decided just to stop going to the chop shops now because of this happening to her toes. So she unfortunately lost both of her big toes. So today I'm gonna do a toenail reconstruction on both of her big toes using acrylic. And I am still a student at this point, but I'm knowledgeable enough to be able to build up a good toenail for her, especially seeing as my mum's wedding's coming up and she doesn't want to be a bridesmaid with two missing big toenails. So I'm carrying on with the prep here, so just again tidying up the free edge of her toes to the shape that she likes, and then I'm going in gently with my cuticle pusher just to remove any dead skin off the nail plate, and I'm going to do that to all of the toes. I'll also add as well that having a toenail reconstruction, while yes it can be done, it's not recommended to keep the acrylic toenail on long term. So I'm only doing these specifically for my mum's wedding, and then once the wedding's over I'm going to remove them for her just so that she can let the nails grow out naturally and that product isn't going to interfere with the growth of her nails. Here I'm going in with my cuticle nippers and I'm just getting any of the hanging dead skin that's sticking out really. I'm not cutting the cuticle too much because we do need a bit of cuticle to protect the matrix of the nails to stop us getting infections, but I am just removing anything that's going to interfere with the product adhering. Here I'm using Kirsty Meakin's acrylic range, and I'm going in with the colour Bare Booty. Now I'm only doing the 2 acrylic toes on the big toes that are missing. So I'm just wiping any dust off of the other nails with some acetone, and then I'm going to go in with my Miley dehydrator to dehydrate the nail. Now obviously, because she's missing toenail, I'm also dehydrating the skin on the toe where the acrylic's going to sit over. Now I'm going in with my acid-free primer from Kirsty Meakin, and then I'm going in with the acrylic. Now here I'm using a size 16 acrylic brush, and it was quite warm on the day that I did these acrylics, so it was setting up a little bit faster than I wanted to, so I didn't focus on just doing, 2 beads, 3 beads. I was just focusing on getting the product down neat and tidy, just so that there was something there. Now when you're doing toenail reconstruction, you don't actually have to do the acrylic too thick, because you don't need an apex to the nail. So I started in the centre of the nail to make sure that it was connected to the nail itself, but also that it wasn't going to flood the cuticles. And then I went in with a couple extra beads around the cuticles and made sure it's tidy, and then I focused on the free edge. And with toenail reconstruction, you don't want to make the toenails super long, like you want to make them as short as you can physically get away with. So here you see I'm placing that bead in the centre of the toenail where it overlaps to the skin and the toe itself, and then I'm going in and focusing on the cuticles, making sure they're neat, tidy and tucked in, and then I work on the free edge. So once the acrylic's down and you've tapped it to make sure that it's hardened and set up, I'm going in with my handheld file again, and I'm just going to shape the free edge and go down the side walls of the nail, just to make sure that they're nice and tidy and that it actually represents a toenail and not just a blob of product that you've placed on the nail itself. Once I've gone in with my handheld file, I take my ceramic cylindrical bit. I use ceramic just because it doesn't heat up as much as a diamond bit would, but if you only have a diamond bit then that's absolutely fine to use. Just be aware that you might cause extra heat to your client. But here I'm just basically thinning out the product and making it an even surface so that it's not all lumpy bumpy and that it doesn't look too thick as well. You don't want a super thick acrylic toenail, you want it to blend in and look natural like the rest of them. So take your time on this bit, really finesse how thick your acrylic is, how lumpy and bumpy it is, try and smooth out as much as you can with your e-file. And then at the end, you can go back in with your hand file, if you want to just smooth the surface over again. But I actually go in with my buffer at the end because I'm quite happy with how I thinned out the acrylic with the e-file. So once you're done with that, you can buff it or you can hand file it just to make it super crisp. So here I'm just wiping all the dust off again with acetone, and then I'm going to start the gel polish application. So again, I'm going in with the Kirsty Meakin base coat, and I apply that to all the toes on one foot and then pop the lamp over that foot so that it can cure. Now Kirsty's products, they do set for 30 seconds, which is a super fast curing time, but I tend to just stick the lamp over, put 60 seconds on, and then while it's doing that, I'll paint the other the other feet. Oh my god, the other toes on the opposite foot. Wow, my brain today. Okay. And then by the time that I've painted all the toes on the opposite foot, that lamp's usually gone off and I can just pop the lamp onto the other side and cure that. Now the colour I'm going in with is called Vamp, and again that's by Kirsty Meakin, and it's a super dark red, almost black red kind of, but it's like a super nice burgundy colour. So I'm going in with my detail brush on the toes just because she has super tiny toenails. And then I use the actual brush that the bottle comes with for the big toes. And again, I'm doing thin coats. Once I've done one coat, I'm going to cure that, paint the other toes while the foot's in the lamp. And then I'm going to come back to that first foot and apply a second coat and cure it again. So here I'm going in with that second coat, and I've zoomed it in so that you can see nice and close. Now do try and be neat, because obviously gel polish, if it gets on the skin it will tend to lift, but I found a product and it's super cheap actually. I found it on Temu and they're actually designed for like lash cleaning, so people that go for individual lashes like classic lashes, Russian lashes, things like that. They're like a micro brush that you can use to clean the lashes with, but I actually find they work really well if you dip the end in a little bit of acetone and just swipe around the cuticle and the sidewalls if you get any gel polish on the skin. That way you can remove any of the imperfections before you put the foot into the lamp. once you've got your 2 coats of your coloured polish on, you're going to go in with your top coat. Now again, I'm using the Kirsty Meakin range, so I'm going to stick with the Kirsty Meakin glossy top coat, and I'm putting this on not thick, but thicker than I would say a normal layer of polish, and that's just to make sure that there's a nice level surface and there's a really high shine to it. And then I'm going to cure that for 60 seconds again, because usually, as you see here, I'm painting the opposite foot while I'm waiting for the other foot to cure, but it does only take 30 seconds to cure. So if you're doing a really quick job, 30 seconds is more than enough to cure it. And then once your top coat is cured, you can go in with your lint-free wipe and your gel polish sticky layer removal, and just give it a wipe down to remove that sticky layer. And then going in with cuticle oil around the toenails, just to rehydrate all of them. So that is the complete process from start to finish, and this took me about an hour and a half, an hour and 45 minutes max. And to be honest, I was actually super impressed with that, because I am a slow worker, but obviously my skills are improving and my time is speeding up now when it comes to working on people, and she was super happy with the outcome of this as well. So thank you for watching, and I'll see you in my next video.